We appear to be live on Zoom and on YouTube, so we are good to go.
Okay. We are calling the Rockbridge County Planning Commission meeting to order March 8th, 2023. First, we'll have roll call. Commission Member Hennis is here. Commission Member Kramer.
Here.
Commission Member Lucas is absent. Commission Member Whitmore.
Here.
Commission Member Watkins. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. One, to join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar. The link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. Two, to join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you're calling in by telephone. This time we will proceed with the meeting. And first we have citizen comments, and this would be for anything that is not on the agenda this evening. Do we have anyone here physically? Do we have anyone who wishes to make a citizen comment via Zoom or by phone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we will proceed with item number 3, which is the approval of the February 8th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Make the motion to approve as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there are a few just spelling things and that Vivica and I are going to get together with.
Perfect. Minor corrections.
Yeah, just little minor ones. So now we are ready for board reports. Staff is going to give us a report on the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yes, at their February 28th, 2023 meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved all 3 of the Thunder Bridge Campground LLC's application. That, of course, was for special events, the parks and playgrounds, if you will, sporting event venue, and the music center. Those were all approved as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Item number 5, Kenneth A. Watkins Cave Mountain Mini Storage, 1467 Work Faulkner Highway, Natural Bridge Station, Virginia, 24579. Application for a special exception permit, storage business in the general business B1 zoning district. We have a staff and applicant presentation.
Yes, Mr. Watkins is here in attendance, and if needed, we can utilize the GIS to review the location. Mr. Watkins has made an application to permit to operate a storage business in the general business zoning district. Property is identified as 1467 Ward Faulkner Highway, Natural Bridge Station, 24579, and is owned by Judith Lawhead. The building, most recently, the building was previously utilized as a building supply retail store. Property is located in the general business B1 zoning district per section 605.03-12 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. A wholesale business storage or warehouse is a use by special exception in the B1 zoning district. The property was located at the intersection of Wolf Faulkner Highway and Natural Bridge, further identified as tax map numbers 108 A1-1-21 1 through 5, and that would be the odd and even lot numbers for a total of 5 lots, and tax map numbers 108 A-1-1-25-1 through 108 A1-1-25-19, odd numbers only, for a total of 10 lots. Property are located in the Natural Bridge magisterial district. Per the proposed plan, Mr. Watkins is planning to utilizing a portion of the existing building for a storage business, and the remaining portion will be used as office space and a storage facility for the storage facility, office space for his existing construction business, Cave Mountain Construction, and potential office space for RV camper service repair business. The existing warehouse to the east of the property of the existing building will house the repair business. The office spaces and the repair businesses are permitted use in the B1. This application is for special exception pertains to the proposed storage business itself. With that being said, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Watkins, and we do have his application and pictures, the schematic site plan if needed. And after Mr. Watkins presents, I think it'd be appropriate for staff to go over the draft conditions that were presented that could be utilized.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm new to this. I'm usually the one that's either tearing it down or building it. So, I don't, what we do here.
I think you've given a pretty good overview of what it is that you're looking
Yeah,
to do.
let me share my screen. That way, let me pull up this. Let me share the screen, and we could use this as discussion talking points. Bear with me here. Let me find it. All right, so this is sharing the screen. Of course, in your package, you have a formal application, the agenda item, the notice of public hearing that went out, Mr. Watkins' written description of plans. This will be the inside. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. This is the proposed inside of the existing building, identified as 1467 Wark Faulkner. So this GIS map shows the existing building here. Of course, traveling to the east is going to be heading towards Glasgow, Virginia, and heading towards the west will be heading towards Buck Hill Road, Natural Bridge Station area that way. So the reason that we highlighted these lots, these are the lots to the north, the 10 lots to the north of West Low Bottom that Miss Lawhead owns. And this is the proposed 12 by 75 mini storage building. Of course, in the package, you saw the pictures of the existing building. It has been in disrepair for quite some time. So the comments that we have received, in passing, we've had no formal comments as far as phone calls or inquiries via email. But of course, we have discussions in passing with others, and it's been well received. The comments that I've seen, mainly because of the bringing the building back to life, having a fresh coat of paint on it, obviously tearing down the awning or repairing it, that type of thing. So if the Planning Commission has any packages pertaining to the information provided, Mr. Watkins or I could attempt to explain those or review them in further detail.
Okay.
If not, it may be a smooth transition to go over the proposed draft conditions. So as you know, the staff will give the Planning Commission conditions that could be utilized during the special exception process. So what was emailed out earlier and presented at the meeting just now is 3 proposed conditions that could be utilized. The first one, number 1, substantial compliance with the schematic plan showing the location of the proposed freestanding storage facility titled Cave Mountain Mini Storage, dated February 17th, 2023. That's the plan that was included in the package that was just reviewed on the shared screen. Number 2, a minimum of a 20-foot buffer on tax map number 108A1-1-25-1 between the proposed freestanding storage facility and the property to the west, currently owned by James B. McFadden, and that's 108A1-1-24-27. So that does have a correction. I incorrectly stated that property was to the east in your draft conditions. Third one is approval contingent upon County Building Department, Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, Health Department, and or Public Service Authority approvals. So going back to my share screen very briefly, the properties that we're talking about, the tax map that's referenced in as far as 108A1-1-A-21 is going to be this property here. So all these lots are owned by Lawheads. Of course, the proposed storage building is on the north east side of the property. And so the 20-foot buffer that we're discussing, if you will, would be located here. There is a paper street and alley here, and then this would be the McFadden property as referenced in the draft conditions.
So did we decide it's not to the east?
It is to the west. I can confirm to the west.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
When you say buffer, does that mean setback and vegetative buffer or?
It would be vegetative buffer, yes. And it would include setbacks. You could have, no building could go in there, yes.
And there's nothing there currently.
Is there anything, there's some vegetation there.
It's woods. Woods.
Okay.
All his-
But there's no other existing buildings in those lots.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is vacant property.
Okay.
Foundation of sorts may be in there, but a very old foundation. Let's put it that way.
And if you go back to that, how somebody's going to access that? Is there a road right there? Like, how are they?
West Low Bottom is a public road. And so that the access would be through West Low Bottom Lane. And that's why, that's essentially why Virginia Department of Transportation is here. Obviously, the existing Lawhead Building Supply building itself has an existing entrance permit. It's a wide open entrance. But when we do construct something back here, there is some surveying work that's obviously going to have to be done to locate these corners, to confirm that where the building is and setbacks, that type of thing. But then also VDOT would be part of that conversation as far as an entrance permit off the West Low Bottom Lane.
And this is a special exception because.
Because it's a storage unit.
storage
So
unit-
Ms. Hennis has the same exact question. So
It's business.
every-
Why do we have to have a special exception? But he
thought the
described
same
why,
thing.
yeah.
So every zoning district in Rockbridge County, whether it's agricultural or industrial or everywhere in between, has permitted uses and uses by special exception. As far as staff reasoning why storage businesses are used by special exception, because the county would like to have some additional oversight rather than a building permit, rather than a regulatory process, because there could be, in some cases, there could be higher and better uses for a piece of property than a storage business. And a lot in larger localities or faster growing localities, these storage businesses essentially can serve as a placeholder, where once growth catches up to them, then they're relocated, removed from the property for redevelopment.
So once should we make this special exception, would he be able to grow that as long as he keeps that 20-foot buffer?
Not without coming back to y'all.
So that's something he may want to think about this afternoon as far as.
No, we've had conversations. We've had multiple conversations. So Mr. Watkins has plans, and hopefully this comes to fruition. His original plan included, and I'm not sharing my screen, bear with me here. Mr. Watkins' original plan included really utilizing this building for the 12 by 75 storage building. It lays better. It can be accessed off the existing parking area, et cetera. The issue is we have this, it's older, dated, probably 1890 Glasgow map is probably when this was last platted. And so we actually have this building in a paper street and alley. So the discussion with Mr. Watkins is, if and when we do get this surveyed and we can confirm, where this is, where that is, he certainly has the ability to come in and amend this particular plan,
That's the one that I really want,
this one here.
the one up on top. Right now, there's a building there. There's pictures here somewhere. I don't know what you bring.
No, I did not include those. I can give those to you.
We're not talking about that though tonight. We're
Yeah,
talking
and
about.
the issue is, according to the GIS and according to available information, the Lawheads don't own that property. I have no idea if that's right. That would require a survey. We have talked to Mr. Watkins about going through the channels to formally close those paper streets and alleys, not the VDOT street, but
Mhm.
the unused
Right.
paper streets. And what that would do, it's my understanding that the property line would automatically revert to the center. And so it's per tax records, the Lawheads own these two parcels as well. In fact, I think per tax records, they own all four of them.
Well, yes, but it only shows that they got a deed to the one you get the hand on.
These two. So per tax records, they own some of these lots on this side of the road. And so what that would mean is if the county went through the public process of formally vacating this paper street, this line and this line would share a common line in the middle. Same thing with this
And
one,
then he could use it.
and then he could use it. Yeah, and this one would go to the center. Of course, McFadden, in this particular case, McFadden
Would
property
own
get
half of it.
larger. Yes.
Right.
and
The
go to the
reason
center.
for the one up top basically is, my plan is, if everything goes well, by the end of next year, I want to have some kind of camper storage repair business. And those lots on the other side of the low bottom road, I like to have it fenced in and have, you know, storage for campers. Hopefully, if the business grows.
Mhm.
So if somebody comes down the road, you know, and I've got a nice new storage building right there at the parking lot, nobody can see over in that area,
Mhm.
and nobody can see over into the Sherwood area where seeing us exposure right now. So it would be helping everyone.
Right.
And that would require an amendment to the special exception. We just don't, we did not have the information. We, the county, didn't have the information to, in order for him to act on that application or that part of the
Yeah,
process.
I guess my question is where he's proposing the new up there.
The pink one.
Yes. There you go. Pink, beautiful.
Yes.
It's once he gets that installed and he wants to, man, business is booming, he has to then come back,
That would be
to
correct.
us?
Yes.
even though we've approved. Okay. I just,
To amend the special exception permit.
The reason, basically, the inside.
and I hope you have to. Don't get me wrong. I just,
But the inside of the building is more building than what I need. I need the office areas, I want the warehouse, and the basement of it. So I figured that I could take the store part of it, which is 36 by 60, and put 12 storage units in. Then, yeah,
So we can help Mr. Watkins, or I'm sorry, we can assist the process and we can modify this to allow for camper storage in this area. At tonight's with the application as advertised and some conditions amended, let's put it that way.
So the four triangular shape where the lots form a triangle,
Yes.
it's currently a parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Goes up to 130. So there's some question as to who owns
2 lots.
two lots.
The 2 real small ones that come into the port. I found the information on the 2 bigger ones. The 2 smaller ones, you know, if you click, it shows
It's
that.
gotta be tiny. I mean,
Yeah, they would be, I'm thinking that they're probably gonna be in the right, well, not the right of way, but the state.
The easement.
yeah.
The easement thing. Yep. Okay.
Because I pulled measurements, and I think I'm good everywhere, but right there on the port.
Right.
But, you know, I didn't want to go spending a fortune on surveying until
Yeah.
I knew I'd be able to do something.
Sure.
understood.
Understood. Yeah.
Smart business.
Yeah.
The only other question I have on this and is when you're proposing the storage units inside the existing building, is there any kind of safety issues? Should you have offices in there, right, that you're going to be having employees, I'm assuming, working out of those offices? Is that correct?
With me being a contractor, I know the building inspectors very well.
Okay, and that's fine.
I had Jason come by there when Connie and I first started talking about it. And, the building that I'm getting ready to use for the office part of it, thank goodness, that old store building must have been built in 3 different sections. Where the part that I want to use for our office building is 100 blocks from the ground all the way to the top. So it's got firewalls all the way.
Okay, I guess that was going to be my concern.
Somebody stores a car in there and it blows up and catches on.
Anything,
Yeah,
I
whatever.
mean,
Yeah.
you don't know what they're storing in their storage buildings, right?
Exactly right. sir.
Right, and so that was, as long as there's not posing any kind of safety.
That was one of the
Risk.
first things I did was have Jason come down and he and I walked around and looked at everything. He said that I was good. The upstairs of the building, it's so big, I don't know what it is. I mean, right now, it's got some of, first of all, he's sold construction material up there. Some of it I can use, some of it's,
Sure.
but it's just more, that's why I want to take this intersection of it to make storage. There's more building than what I need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with it as long as there's no safety issues for
think
yourself
you're good.
or employees, just because you have no idea what your customers would be putting in there.
And I've already checked into, it's got a drop ceiling on it in the inside. And I'm gonna leave the drop ceiling and I already checked in the fire tower for that. So I can do like, keep the fire risk down on the inside. So, yeah, I thought that was it.
Just a couple of questions, Kenny. I mean, this isn't really what you do inside the building, I guess, is none of our business really. It's permitted use, but just worried about like flow. Is this the front of the building? It says existing entrance I
I
don't know.
could share that. I could share that on this.
I'm just wondering about the flow and how people are gonna bring their stuff in and how are you gonna
All right,
separate
in
the
the very
office?
front of the building, when you're coming down the road, you got the storefront doors there.
Mhm.
The two aluminum storefront doors. I'm going to use those storefront doors. The way the building is built, it's built on posts. So the posts go from the footing in the basement area all the way to the top. And it's 36 feet wide, so you got a 12-foot section. You got a center 12-foot section, and you got a right 12-foot section. So I'm gonna use the whole center section, which would be 12-foot wide. And that's gonna be the aisle to get into the storage building.
So this would be the existing entrance to the proposed offices, but as far as the general public coming to and from
It'd be-
their mini storage units or your storage units, it'd be here
Yes.
with a 12-foot aisle of access.
That would be like a new
So is
entrance.
that,
Oh, it's existing. It's already there.
It's where the side.
Yes, sir, that's it.
Side
That's
Oh,
it.
okay, where the awning is about ready to fall off or what are you gonna call it? Okay,
Easy,
yeah.
easy.
oh, hey, you're dressing it up, man. We're good.
Yeah, no, I'm totally in favor of it, that
Well,
building.
you seen that I already tore the side down.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. I'm with you now.
And there's already a door that goes into the office area from the work office side.
Yeah, yeah.
We done already cleaned all that up and got the doors working and this, that, and the other. I just, at this stage, for the last couple of weeks, I haven't been spending every day over there, because I got to keep working somewhere.
Mhm.
We just been cleaning, grubbing, getting it safe.
The steps to the basement are over in this bonus room area.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
They come through the office area and go down into the basement.
Okay.
And then it's also access from the lower lot into the basement.
Right, right.
That's the part I want to use for my construction stuff. And that's making my wife awful happy to get everything away from all that.
I'm sure.
Say happy wife, happy life.
Uh,
I don't know. I think I
Chris,
heard it
what
too.
is that fourth contingency or the special exception that has to do with the campers? You said we
I would
needed to
say
add one.
I would
something
keep
there?
I would
Condition?
keep the same language, substantial compliance with schematic plan showing the location of the proposed freestanding storage facility titled Cave Mountain Mini Storage dated February 17th, 2023, to be updated to provide camper storage north of West Low Bottom Lane. And then I will follow up accordingly, and it will essentially have a revision date associated with the camper. Let me explain this.
What was that again? To be updated.
To be updated to provide camper storage.
To provide, to allow for camper storage north of West Low Bottom Lane. So let me share this back with you. So this is the schematic plan that we're talking about now. And so what I'm proposing is the understanding that staff essentially would update this map with a second line and provide for camper storage in this area, knowing that this lot, essentially, these lots are 25 feet. At minimum, it's a 20-foot buffer as drafted. And so this area would be updated to provide for camper
To be
storage.
updated to allow for camper storage north of West Bottom Lane.
Yes, and that would be north of West Bottom Lane.
If you're doing that for camper storage, couldn't you do that to allow flexibility to where he wants to put his building as long as there's a 20-foot buffer off of the
Well,
neighboring
we
property?
can't, I don't think we can because we don't even know if the ownership. We have an application from,
Well, I'm talking about. the
She's talking
freestanding
about
new
within
free-
the freestanding, the
building.
pink building.
Hey, you probably gonna see me again. Because if y'all think it's anywhere in the world that I'm gonna build big storage units in there, I'm gonna go ahead and spend the money to have the survey. And I really want that freestanding,
You want that building,
this one
really?
here.
yeah, I want.
But we're
yeah,
just approving the other one just in case.
Yes.
And we, of course, we work well with all, we do our best to work well with all applicants. And I think we have in this case, just with the conversation of what we can and can't do type thing with the information provided. Obviously, if we wanted to, step back and punt, if you will, we could have gotten a survey and figure out what we have. We all get educated and then develop a site plan accordingly. But, with the.
Makes sense though, not to pay for a survey till you know if we even are gonna allow the.
Exactly. That's
thing.
exactly
What
what,
I was thinking.
that's what
Makes
Mr.
sense.
Watkins was thinking. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think that's all we need from you at this point, unless you guys have other questions for him. All right.
We'll come down and help you with
Yep, thank you.
it.
That's great. So at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here physically to speak?
Any formal comments?
So I'm representing the Lawhead family and we're in 100% support of this.
Of course.
So
Yes,
For the
thank
record,
you.
Ms. Connie Lawhead representing the Lawhead family, and they're 100% supportive of the project,
Great,
of the
thank you.
application.
Sure. We'll now take comments via computer and phone. At this time, I'll ask staff if there are any citizens that would like to make a comment from Zoom or the phone.
Let me stop sharing. Apologize. No, ma'am.
Okay. And let's see, staff will go through the list. Staff will state that there appears to be everyone. No further comments. Then we can close the public hearing. You don't have any written comments or anything that we need
No,
to
ma'am.
address. Okay. No further comments. The public hearing is closed. And I don't have my gavel tonight. I'm feeling. So I guess we'll bring it back to the board now. If you all have any additional questions or if you are ready to proceed, we have our draft conditions.
I'm good with it. I would read it, but I didn't write down the additional language, so I'd be happy to second.
Well, I think I did. I mean,
Okay, go for it. I'll correct you if you need it.
I mean, my comment really is, I'm not sure why we're going through this.
Yeah, I said the same,
I
but
know, I know you did. And I mean, this is, I think,
business use, but
okay,
go ahead.
okay. I make a motion to recommend that a special exception permit to Kenneth A. Watkins to develop and operate a storage business per land LDR number 605.03-12 in the general business B1 zoning district in a portion of an existing structure located at 1467 Faulkner Highway, Natural Bridge Station, Virginia, be approved with the following conditions. Number one, substantial compliance with the schematic plan showing the location of the proposed freestanding storage facility titled Cave Mountain Mini Storage dated February 17, 2023, to be updated to allow for camper storage north of, is it West Bottom Lane?
You got it.
Okay. Two, a minimum of 20-foot buffer on tax map 108A1-1-25-1 between the proposed freestanding storage facility and the property to the west, or to the
Correct.
west, currently owned by James B. McFadden, tax map 108A1-1-24-47.
Can I stop you for 1 second? Should we say in there a minimum of a 20-foot vegetative buffer? I mean, we're just saying buffer. That could be anything, right?
Well,
Or
no,
nothing.
it's a buffer is defined in the land development
Okay,
regulations.
Just want to
in
make
its
sure
own
we didn't
section
need
of
to
it.
put that in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
Thank you.
And number three, approval contingent on county building department, Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, and Health Department and/or Public Service Authority approvals.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and the motion passes. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon with a lot more business, right?
We do.
Just to be clear, when this goes to the supervisors, it will be substantial compliance with schematic plan showing location of the proposed freestanding storage building titled Cave Mountain Mini Storage dated February 17th, 2023, revised tomorrow, essentially.
Whatever
so-
the date is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I just want to make sure y'all were clear on,
Yep.
on what is going to be presented to supervisors.
Thank you.
And I'll share that with you.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all.
Good luck.
Thank you all. Good luck. Appreciate it. So agenda item number 6, County of Rockbridge, application for a zoning text amendment to provide for upper and lower story apartments / condominiums as a permitted use in the general business B1 zoning district.
Yes, so I'm going to, well, if needed, we can physically look at it, but it's fairly nominal text associated with this zoning text amendment. Currently per section 605.03-24 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations, upper story apartment condominiums are used by special exception. The current language does not provide for the flexibility to allow for additional dwellings on lower floors. At the January 11th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission discussed the proposed zoning text amendment pertaining to multifamily dwellings in the general business. The commission felt there was some merit in exploring the additional flexibility of living units while retaining a percentage of the storefront business uses. At that meeting, the Planning Commission directed staff to research. The very next meeting, February 8th, the Planning Commission meeting, the next month meeting, I should say, February 8th, the commission reviewed staff's finding and instructed staff to direct draft language and advertise for a public hearing for the proposed zoning text amendment that provides for upper and or lower story basement, in parentheses, story apartments / condominiums as a permitted use in the business B1 district, provided at minimum 90% of the ground level as in a business use. So in your package, you have the obviously in the package, we've advertised accordingly. That's the notice of public hearing there. It was both notices of public hearing because in this particular case, no one gets direct adjoining mail because it's a zoning text amendment, obviously. So as far as the proposal goes, there are the update, the proposed language is in red. That's of course modifying, adding 605.02-47 that states upper and or lower story, in parentheses, basement story apartments / condominiums, provided at minimum 90% of the ground level is in business use, period. And then if you flip a couple pages, you will see 605.03-24, the existing regulations that state upper story apartments / condominiums as a use by special exception has been struck through, indicating that that will be removed from the ordinance.
So I have a question about this. Can I ask it right now?
Of course.
So 605.02-47, there was some discussion about what ground level was, and we talked about calling that street level because that's different because there's a ground and that could be considered ground level, even though it's the basement and the one specific building that we're talking about.
So
That doesn't have to
what
be
I did is
90%.
Googled, if it's not defined in the, and I could do this again to double check myself, but if it's not defined in the actual ordinance and ground level is not defined, it is, we use the ordinary customary dictionary definition. And so I'll probably be beneficial to do that. But then I tried to further explain that with the lower story basement in parentheses, meaning obviously a basement.
Right. When I read it, it sounds to me like upper or lower story apartments provided at minimum 90% of the ground level. So if they are ground level, so I'm thinking about the one specific building that we were talking about, it just seems confusing to me because it sounds like if you're going to have them on that lower level, that's also could be considered ground level and 90% has to be business.
And that was the purpose of including basements in the draft language.
The definition of a basement is a lot different than if you have a floor like on the slant.
Well, that's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
right,
So
exactly what you're
that's
saying.
ground level on that
That
side,
doesn't
whereas
look like
the
a
street
basement
level's
to
up
me.
here.
I mean, people living in there.
Right. That's
So basement is part of a building that is wholly or partially below ground level.
If it's slanted like this and the street is up here, that space.
parking down here.
Parking down here. I mean, it's like where the farmer's market is.
I thought we had talked last month about whatever that ground level was that was facing
The street.
the street.
Right. That's why I'm trying to clarify because that doesn't seem clear
Mm-hmm.
to me in the way we've written that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because to me,
Yeah,
it sounds like
I'm
it's saying 90% of that
Yeah,
bottom level
yes.
because it's not really a basement.
Right.
It's just because it just faces the other direction.
Chris, any thoughts on that? Or are you Googling away?
Googling.
I'm just essentially doing some definitions. So no, I'm open for suggestions.
Yeah, and I think, that was the clarification I thought we had come up with.
I reread that actually in our minutes about
Yeah.
that we
Was
said it was.
Whatever the ground level was that was
Street
facing.
level was not, instead of using the word ground level, we said street level
Street level.
because whatever faces the street is what needs to be 90% business. The way this reads to me, and again, I may just be, it sounds like 90% of that basement needs to be business.
Right, you're right.
Where did the 9% come from? I mean, was that,
I think we picked that up off Augusta County.
There was some similar language at last month.
I was thinking that if a business owner owned a business, he might take part of that to live in it. If he wanted to, we didn't want to take that option away from him, but I just feel like the way this is written, it looks like
Mm.
90% of that basement. Not really a basement, it's just a lower
right.
level.
Yeah.
To me, that's.
So it
what
could be ground floor, and maybe that's what I was interpreting, the floor of the building most nearly on a level with the ground.
But is that not, again, thinking about that one specific building that's on a slope like that, that's ground level to me on the backside of the building.
I would consider that a basement, the lower story parentheses basement, but I am open. I mean, we can go back to the drawing board or open for,
Street level.
That's
Yeah.
90% of the street level, the facing the street.
Facing, yeah, forget how we,
Yeah, we did. It's in the minutes
Yeah,
about
I
how
thought it
we
was-
said that.
I thought we felt pretty good about the way we.
Right.
come on up and speak at the mic with more, because it can't, if you don't know, Zoom picks it up.
At one point, we talked about what was classified as the true address side of the structure. And then if there was a part of it that was subgrade from the address side, then that would be the basement.
Okay.
Makes sense too. For full.
Mhm. And here's the
I
thing,
understand
talking about the level that faces the street is what they're talking about.
It'd be a
Need to be
big building.
clear, for instance, where the basement on
For
the floor
additional
below the
apartment.
business use needs to be. So there, yeah, there's a paragraph in here which we talk about likely not referring to the ground level, but rather to the level that faces the street. The language of the regulation would need to be clear for the instances where a basement on the floor below the business use could be seen as a ground floor. We did talk about this.
No, I remember the conversation. I was anticipating that when we stated lower story and in parentheses basement, having that word in there and knowing the definition of basement. But it may be, based on this conversation, it may be more palatable to say upper and or lower story, still have basement in there, apartment / condominiums provided at minimum 90% of street level is in business use. Street level is defined as at the same level as the street.
I feel better about that.
I
I mean, to
don't.
me,
And
that's
that
much
could have been the error
clearer
on
to
my
me.
part. I apologize.
Much
Of
clearer.
using ground level versus street level.
Yeah, I think
And I
that's
think
much clearer.
I'm confident we're covered it's not more restrictive or less restrictive than what we have advertised. Or I'm sorry, it's not more restrictive than what we've advertised. It's just clarification.
Yeah, I don't see a problem.
Perfect. So we would be proposing to change the word ground to street.
I think I feel a lot better about
Perfect.
that.
I completely understand.
In your research, did you come across anything that addressed ingress egress from a basement level versus having to come up through the street level or upper level having to do the same? Or
We did not.
we think that's important. Otherwise, somebody could have a true basement that's no with windows, small windows, and that seems like maybe we should think about it.
In
Would that
terms
not
of,
be the
in terms of
building
the use or in terms of safety?
Both.
The safety would be, the safety aspect would be very well vetted with the building department when you get a CO, as far as ingress and egress, those type of things.
Because I know, building we're doing in Bedford, there are apartments that do not have windows, but because they're sprinklered, they don't have to.
Yes, there are certain building code restrictions that do not require the
Correct.
42 inches above floor for window type of thing.
I want that apartment.
Hey, all the firemen who work third shift and the nurses, they all love those apartments because it's
Yes,
really
makes
pitch
sense.
black.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is our next move here?
So David, is that clear for, I don't know that we're completely answering what you were, are you feeling good about it? You still want to?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like we should probably talk if you got something there that you want to.
just the clarification of the street level, I think that's the word we're using helps. And as you mentioned, I just will be worried that somebody has a business and then there's a basement that they like, okay, I'm gonna fix this up and rent it out short term and not even go through the building department or something, but that happens all the time anyway, probably.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we can oversee that.
No, and there would be penalties associated with that, and it could obviously be required to be brought into compliance. And you could have, and I understand the use category that or use that you're concerned with, but it could very well be an internal access to the basement apartments or internal access to upper story apartments and not be a conflict with the existing retail or excuse me, existing business use, not necessarily.
So
retail.
essentially that could be that 10% of that. We're talking about 90% has to be, it could be 10% be a walkway with elevator or something.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. And that's another good point. When we really didn't even consider that point until just now you made it.
Right.
But because before it was more, okay, well, I have a business, but I want to have a small apartment associated with it as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
On the street level.
Street.
And this
Okay.
is a public hearing.
Yes. So at this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone physically present who would like to speak? Don't see anyone here. Yes, he has.
Is that citizen?
Um,
So we have no one signed up. We have no one signed up.
Okay.
With that, let me check online. We have no attendees. So no one signed up or raising their hand.
Okay. With no further comments, public hearing is closed and we'll bring it back to the board. And we have the LDR text amendment proposed motions here. If someone would like to choose one.
Before I read it, I just want to make sure there's a ground level on this.
It is. So we're striking through ground and adding street.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the proposed text amendments to the LDR section 605.00 General Business District B-1 to add section 605.02-47 to allow upper and lower basement story apartments, condominiums, provided minimum 90% of street level is in business use as permitted, as a permitted use, and to delete section 605.03-24 requiring a special exception permit for upper story apartments / condominiums be approved.
You have a motion? You have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes.
To clarify for the minutes, when you stated 605.0247 to allow upper and or lower story apartments, correct?
Correct.
Okay. perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. And we are on to agenda item 7, comprehensive plan update discussion. And staff has got a presentation. I'm guessing that's Vivica. All right.
We can just go over this, and then after you're done, I will explain the transition there.
Okay, so this week we're talking about the economy chapter of the comprehensive plan. This chapter was pretty thoroughly updated because of the statistics that are contained within it. So you'll see the first portion of the economy chapter discusses education within the county and the highest level of educational attainment. So that has all been thoroughly updated using U.S. Census Bureau data. The high school information has also been updated as well as the higher education statistics. And then looking forward a little bit, we go to the employment rates of the county, and that has all been updated to show 2020, 2018, and 2016 data. And that is from the Virginia Economic Commission. I'm sorry, Virginia Employment Commission. And then from there, we get into the employment by industry for 2020 and 2010. And you can see that 2010 does not contain nearly as many categories, but that is the way that the reporting was done at the time. So there is a discrepancy there, but it was because of how it was reported. And you'll see that there are a lot of asterisks within that table, and I just want to make clear that that's because those numbers were not reported, but they are a part of the total of all industries reported at the bottom. We get into the employment classification, and you can see the numbers of employees within each occupation type in Rockbridge, Lexington, Una Vista, and the whole area. And that's for 2020 and 2018. We also have the employment by occupation for 2020 and 2018, showing different types of occupations within the county. On the next page, we have the commuting patterns for workers within the county for 2019, and you'll see that we have a high percentage of people who live in the county but commute out of the county for work. That's at 54.19%. Total in commuters, people who live outside the county and commute in for work, is at 27.12%, and then the people who live and work within Rockbridge County is at 18.69%. And then down below, you'll see that we have the breakdown of the areas where most commuters are coming from and going to. Following that, we get into wages and income, and we have the median income adjusted for inflation for 2020. We also have the total number of business establishments and their employees and weekly wage within the county, Lexington, and Una Vista. And then you'll see the 10 largest employers in Rockbridge County for 2022 as well included. We also get into the weekly wage by place of work for the county, Una Vista and Lexington. And again, you'll see that there are some asterisks, and that's because they have not been reported. And then table 5.12 discusses, and the paragraph before discusses the location quotient, which is used as a way to measure. It's defined as a ratio of analysis industry employment in the area to base industry employment divided by the ratio of industry employment in the base area to industry employment in the total area. So this is how Rockbridge County compares to outside areas. And so you'll see anything below a 1 is lower than outside areas, and anything above a 1 is higher. And then from there, we get into the manufacturing companies within the county and the products that they produce, as well as data on the forestry sales within the county for 2020 and 2015. It also discusses the agriculture and the products that are sold, including crops and livestock, for 2012 and 2017, which is the most recent agricultural census, which is why it looks like it's a little outdated, but it is the most recent data available.
How often do they update that? I mean, it seems like it was 5 years between 12 and 17. It
Yeah,
seems
so
like we should have had
I
it
believe that they're in the
22.
process of updating it for the 2022 data, but it's not going to be released until
Right.
until later.
So would it be released before we had to finalize this?
That
could
I'm not
be
sure. I
added.
can certainly look into it. I don't believe, from what I saw, the 2017 version was released fairly recently, so I'm not sure their timeline between collecting the data and actually releasing it, but I can certainly look into that.
What was it yesterday that you were saying that was going to get released in August?
So that's
That was,
that was in the population
okay,
chapter.
gotcha, okay.
There was a certain statistic of, I believe it was age breakdown within the county of male and females, and that is the information that will not be released by the U.S. Census Bureau.
That's fine. I just want.
Yeah, no worries.
This comprehensive plan is a 5-year. Is that right? We do this every 5 years or?
We do an update every 5 years. It's valid for 30 years. So the one that we did in 2016 is technically valid for 30 years, but the planning commission is required to update it every 5 years.
I was just thinking about if this is 5 years, I mean, then it'll be 10 years old. This farm's data will be 10
Absolutely.
years old by the time.
And in just for reference, in 2016, it did only contain the 2012 data. But I will certainly look into when that, excuse me, when that update will be released. And then on the last pages, we get into the registered dealers and total taxable sales. So you'll see how many businesses of each type are within the county and their overall taxable sales that are reported. And that is for 2021 as well as 2018. And then the final area is tourism within the county. So you can see the total amount of travel-related expenditures that produces income within the county, as well as the labor that is sponsored by those expenditures. And then the last map, the last page is the map of tourism zones within the county. And we have added the 2 that are surrounding Lexington. The 2 previous in Natural Bridge and Racine were already existing. So as we reach the economy goals, several of these, you want to?
Sure. So this is, it's perfect timing to talk about the economy chapter in the Rockbridge County Comprehensive Plan. The Economic Development Director, Brandy Flint, is going through developing I think it was the first ever strategic economic plan for Rockbridge County. And it just so happens that plan was somewhat released to the committee on Monday of this week. And so our plan moving forward, and it's a similar format, if you will. It does have goals, it has objectives, and it has strategies associated with the strategic economic plan. We were hopeful that we could include that draft plan in your package, but it wasn't essentially published or presented to the it wasn't emailed out until this Monday. With that being said, what we would like to do is continue the economy chapter discussion next month and have an opportunity to provide you the strategic economic plan, look at those goals and objectives, and how we can incorporate some, if not all of those texts and languages as far as the goals and objectives in the current comprehensive plan. Because it is, Vivica worked with Brandy directly during the update of the economy chapter as far as the facts and figures. But so this is unusual. We would like to essentially take this back through the economy chapter back through at our April Planning Commission meeting.
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Great. Thank you. It's a lot of work in here.
On page 5, you still got Dabney S. Lancaster.
Because it was formerly known as, so you'll see it's called
Mountain Gateway.
Mountain Gateway now, but it changed over very recently, and so they don't actually have any data reported. And so, it's still under the Japanese.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was great.
Good.
Any other comments from the board here?
No, I mean, the only thing I would also just kind of piggyback off of on that same this thought process is, saying SVU founded in 1867. I think we touched on this the other day, yesterday.
Yes, and so what we've
Do we
done.
need to maybe define that a little bit more? Or is
Yeah,
that-
and so what we
Otherwise, it seems like SVU's been there for
Yes, and then we kind of, so this is a smooth transition to the next agenda item,
Okay.
the
Community development.
the Community Development Committee. So yesterday, Mr. Whitmore, myself, and Vivica met with the Community Development Committee that, of course, consists of Mr. Kramer, and Mr. Watkins on the Planning Commission, and also Supervisor Ayers and Supervisor Lyons. So our current plan is to meet once a month, the third Monday of the month at noon. That's a good timing because it's in between your Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission meeting, I should say, and the Board of Supervisors. So what we did yesterday, and I'm getting to that's what you got, Ben.
No, that's
What we did yesterday is Vivica, it was about 2.5 hours meeting. Vivica went through we set the schedule. We talked about the goals of the committee, process moving forward, what the purpose of the committee is, that type of thing. The upfront purpose of the committee will be the review of the comprehensive plan, but moving forward, even next month, we'll have more time to update the current chapter we're talking about, but then also talk about pending applications, upcoming applications that y'all had just acted on, y'all being the Planning Commission just acted on, what's coming to the Board of Supervisors, pretty much improved communication. So one thing we were able to do yesterday that was beneficial for everyone in the room, I think, is to go by chapter. Chapter 1, historical preservation. Chapter 2, natural environment. Chapter 3, population. Chapter 4, government. And finally, Chapter 5, economy. And essentially go over all the updates that have been provided to the Planning Commission. And throughout every chapter, really each chapter, the committee had some comments on, it said, hey, what's this? And it was essentially a crash course of what we have been doing for the last many months. With that being said, one comment was, and what page is that on?
Still on page 5.
Page 5, perfect. So one comment was.
Well, it's page 5 and page 3.
Page 3 was the one we're familiar
Yes.
with, that I'm familiar with,
Yes.
sorry. So one comment was the Southern Virginia University, founded in 1867, perked us up a little bit because obviously we know Southern Virginia University was not here until 2000 or whatever it was, and we did some research. And same thing with the Mountain Gateway Community College, Rockbridge Center, formerly Dabney Lancaster, year founded 1996. We all know Dabney was much older than that. So with that being said, what we're going to do is revise this to say that it was actually Bowling Green Seminary was the 1867, and then in 1902 it switched to Southern Seminary, and then in 2000, okay, vice versa, and then 2000-ish, whenever it was, it actually transformed to Southern Virginia University. And so what we found today is they're saying it was just a transition from start to finish with no dead zones in between. It's not really how I remember, sort of being defunct there for a little bit, and then SVU picking it back up. So we'll clarify those, and those are the comments that we're anticipating tonight, those type of things. So what we're going to do is obviously still keep it as institutional name SVU, Southern Virginia University, but further clarify that 1867 and have exactly the date when it was Bowling Green, when it was Southern Seminary, and then when it was most recently Southern Virginia. We'll do the same in Mountain Gateway. I think we found it was 1962 that Dabney was founded in Covington, Clifton Forge area. And then I think this 1996 date is the Rockbridge Center. And so we'll clarify that moving forward.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I think it's just clarification.
yeah, absolutely. And Vivica asked that prior to the meeting, which one to use, because she's already done some updates. And so what we do is we just print out the exact same package that was included in the package. But yeah, absolutely. I felt it was very beneficial yesterday, really even for myself, to have some time to pause and start looking at it more thoroughly than in some cases I've done in months past.
Yeah. And then the only other thing that I remember that kind of struck a chord with Mrs. Ayers and Mr. Lyons was on some of these chapters that were put in Lexington or Buena Vista before Rockbridge County. They really want Rockbridge County position first, and then Lexington or like however you guys want to at that point, it doesn't matter, but really,
Yeah, and I think that was an excellent point because what we did, I think what stuck out to us, it was the government structure. And so in the government structure, it started with the city of Lexington, and they're like, hey, that is unusual. And so with that and other or other charts, we've reorganized it where it's Rockbridge first, Lexington Unit Business first.
And it
Yeah,
flowed
that-
to Goshen and Glasgow.
Sure.
Yes, and we're also going to separate Goshen and Glasgow out as individual units on the government chapter as well. So it was a good conversation. So what I'm anticipating moving forward, obviously, is monthly meetings, and we're trying to figure out. It would be great if we could have done it prior to the planning commission for multiple reasons as far as the flow of the process. But with that being said, we had a whole lot of moving targets, moving dates, having 8 people in the room at the same time, trying to find that common ground. So we'll obviously make it work, and I'm looking
Is that open
forward.
to the public?
What's that?
Is that open to the public?
No,
or it's
ma'am.
Just, okay.
It's a committee, and so
Didn't know if I wanted to come sit in, if that was a.
you could
appropriate or
if
not.
one of the other ones was not absent.
Okay.
Of course, if
Or
3 of
was
y'all
absent.
show up, it's a meeting, and
Yeah.
so
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Just let me
By all
know sometime
means.
when they're not there. I just like to see
if
how
you
it
and
goes.
Mr. Whitmore wants to take my spot,
I got enough
Yeah.
meetings.
and
but
it could.
I would like to see how
have
it
an
goes.
alternate hitter every now and then if needed. Yeah. No, if someone's
call
out
in the
mean,
DH.
and we need to have an alternate, that's something certainly to talk about.
Okay.
And
great.
it's certainly not, it's certainly not shielded from the public by any means, but there are obviously committee
Sure.
staff meetings, stuff like that, or, all
Right.
meetings aren't open to the public.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go Hokies.